The House will come to order. Prayer by the chaplain.
Press this, right? Press it again. Almighty God, Ribono Shalom, Master of the world, may you bless us with insight and understanding to internalize that all dominion and kingship belongs to you. You, being the source of all power, have entrusted your children with the sacred responsibility of governance, commanding us to set up judges and ministers in each municipality to settle disputes, maintain and establish laws justly, equitably, with transparency, care, and concern for all. May you bless us with the wisdom and sensitivity to be mindful that within each of us is a divine soul created in the image of the one God. Each moment is an opportunity to experience a unique revelation of the infinite God within the perspective of the other. May we therefore do as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once advised, to post-judge instead of prejudge, to only make a judgment after intently listening to the perspective of the other with a discerning but open mind. Although we are each unique, coming from different religions, philosophies, and perspectives, I pray that we may come to the understanding that we are each dependent on each other, and that if we are to survive and thrive, we must fulfill the advice of our forefathers, e pluribus unum, out of many, one, that our duties are not only to ourselves, our families, and our Maker, but to each other, our communities, state, and country. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will to bless each of you with the strength of character, insight, patience, and faith to make our beloved Minnesota the best place it can be, fulfilling Isaiah's messianic vision of hope that the wolf shall lie with the lamb, the leopard shall lie down with the kid, the calf and the lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. The cow and the bear shall graze, their young shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. The nursing child shall play over the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put its hand on the adder's den. They will not hurt or destroy on all my holy mountain, for earth will be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. And we say, Amen.
The chaplain for today is Rabbi Marcus Rubenstein from Temple of Aaron, St. Paul, Minnesota. Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing and recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will close the roll. A quorum is present. The clerk will read the journal of the preceding day.
Journal of the House, 93rd Session, 2023, 4th day, St. Paul, Minnesota, Monday, January 9th, 2023.
If there is no objection, further reading of the journal will be dispensed with, and the journal will be approved as corrected by the chief clerk. Hearing no objection, the journal is approved as corrected by the chief clerk. Reports of standing committees and divisions. A copy of this order of business is on your desk and online. If there is no objection, the reports will be adopted. Hearing no objection, the reports are adopted. Second reading of House files.
Second reading, House File number 35.
Second reading. Introduction of bills. The following House files have been offered for introduction today. The chief clerk will report the House files and give them their first reading.
Introduction of first reading of House Files 214 through 336.
First reading House files 214 through 336. Message from the Senate.
Message from the Senate. Madam Speaker, I hereby announce the adoption by the Senate of the following Senate concurrent resolution herewith transmitted. Senate concurrent resolution number 2, a Senate concurrent resolution relating to adjournment for more than 3 days. The message is signed Thomas S. Bodern, Secretary of the Senate. Long moves that the rules be so far suspended that Senate concurrent resolution number 2 be now considered and placed upon its adoption.
Representative Long, to your motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That is my motion, and the motion is to allow us to take a break for the MLK Day holiday and come back on the 17th.
On the long rule suspension, discussion. Representative Damuth.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, this is good, and I would encourage a green vote.
All those in favor of the long motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. There is an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Long moves to amend Senate concurrent resolution number 2 as follows. Page 1, line 6, delete 12 noon on.
Representative Long.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That is my amendment. The goal here is that the Senate asks us to meet at noon. We'd prefer to meet a little earlier.
Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, all those in favor of the proposed amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The amendment is adopted.
Long moves that Senate concurrent resolution number 2 as amended be now adopted.
Representative Long.
That is my motion.
Any discussion to the long motion relating to concurrent resolution number 2? Hearing none, all those in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The resolution is adopted. Report from the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration.
Long from the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration, pursuant to Rules 1.21 and 3.33, designate the following bill to be placed on the calendar for the day for Wednesday, January 11th, 2023, and establishes a pre-filing requirement for amendments offered to the following bill. House File number 37.
Calendar for the day. The first bill on the calendar for the day is House File 37. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 37, number 1 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to human rights, the first engrossment.
I recognize the member from Hennepin, the author of the bill, Representative Agbaje, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This evening, I have the honor to present what is nationally known as the Crown Act. CROWN stands for Creating a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair. The purpose of the bill is to allow more people to show up as their authentic selves in school or in the workplace without fear of repercussion because of their hair. This bill is necessary to ensure that the definition of race in the Minnesota Human Rights Act is inclusive of hair texture and protective styles. The bill updates the MHRA by stating that race is inclusive of traits associated with race, including but not limited to hair texture and hairstyles such as braids, locks, and twists. This language will clarify that Minnesota will not tolerate discrimination based on hair. It will clearly define that no one should be prevented from a job or an education because of the way that their hair grows naturally from their head. We know that racial discrimination is not always overt, and this bill ensures that discrimination based on biases or stereotypes can be stopped or held accountable. While natural hairstyles and protective styles are often associated with people of African descent, the law protects everyone from having their human rights violated. As legislators, when we see disparities and unequal treatment between residents, it is our duty to act. This bill will help us as we strive to make Minnesota a more welcoming place for all people. I know some people have asked whether a bill like this is necessary, considering that the MHRA, as interpreted, is fairly expansive. And unfortunately, it is necessary. Because to be Black in this country and in this state is political. And the way we show up in the world, particularly as Black women, has often been labeled as distracting, messy, unprofessional, or wrong. A bill like this affirms that natural hairstyles cannot be used as a proxy for race to deny someone a job, an education, housing, or an athletic opportunity. Studies done by Dove have shown that Black women are 1.5 times more likely to be sent home from the workplace because of their natural hair. 80% of Black women reported that they have had to change their natural hair to fit in at the office. And we know that in schools, young Black girls are facing hair discrimination as early as the age of 5. Similar sentiments can also apply to Black men who may wear their hair naturally curly or in locks. In one egregious incident in Minnesota, an employer wanted to update their policies. One of those updates specifically banned hairstyles worn by Black employees in the form of afros, braids, and locks. The employer had no health or safety reason for this change, and the Black employees asked if they would at least be allowed to conceal their hair, and the employer denied that request. Once the policy was implemented, the employer fired the Black employees who did not cut their hair. There was no other reason for the firings, and that is what discrimination looks like today. This bill is also important in affirming the humanity of all people in Minnesota. As a Black woman, I feel the societal pressures to conform to Eurocentric beauty standards, and there's a fear in not knowing how people will receive you or even accept you in your role as a professional. By adding this clarifying definition to our law, we can proudly say that Minnesota is an inclusive state that wants everyone to thrive and not have the additional mental strain of worrying about their hair and then perhaps turning to harmful straightening chemicals to fit in. There's also a cultural history and a sense of self-esteem to how Black people wear their hair, and in 2023, we should not be asking people to tamp down their identity or their culture. Finally, this bill is supported by community members like the Twin Cities Urban League and the Young Professionals Chapter, the National Urban League, Black Women's Wealth Alliance, the Council on Minnesotans of African Heritage, and the Children's Hospital of Minnesota. Businesses here in Minnesota that make up the Minnesota Business Coalition on Racial Equity are also strongly supportive. Finally, agencies like the Minnesota Department of Human Rights and Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry are ready to see this bill become law. Our friends in the Senate have also heard the bill this morning, and so I'm looking forward to when Minnesota joins 19 other states that can affirm that people can show up in their full, authentic selves. And I urge members to vote green.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File Number 37.
Third reading. The member from Hennepin, Representative Frazier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Came up on me fast. Representative Agbaje, thank you for bringing this bill. I spoke about this last year when we passed this bill off the floor in the House. As everybody knows, I have 3 daughters. They all have beautiful hair. They all express themselves through their hair, through their different styles. And for me, having this bill in place to let them know that we are an inclusive state and that no matter how they want to wear their hair, it will never be a limitation for them as they move along in life, through school, and through their professional careers. So I'm looking forward to voting green on this, and I hope that everyone in this chamber will join me on that. Thank you.
Discussion to the bill. The member from Stearns, Representative Damuth.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As we have heard this bill, members, in other times in this chamber, we all have our own story, and our life experience is different. And it doesn't mean that we shouldn't listen to the stories of others. And I gave an example a couple of years ago of a grandson that was born in April of 2020. And with everything that took place, the end of May and in June of 2020, I remember my daughter calling me and saying, you know, at that time, my grandson was fairly bald. But as his hair was coming in, she said, how is he going to be looked different at as he grows up? It'll depend on what his hair looks like, potentially. And we had a great conversation, and I said, you know, hair should never be a reason. We know that this is already covered, but I think today we are looking at this a little bit differently. We have the opportunity to hear from others. I will be a green vote on this, and thank you, Representative Agbaje, for bringing this back to us. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Agbaje.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, members. I continue to urge everyone to vote green. It is really an opportunity for Minnesota to stand with other states across the country to say that we are affirming people as who they are, that we, as Representative Damuth said, we are listening to other stories, and that we are making sure that we are an inclusive state and one where people feel proud to call home and want to live here. So thank you.
The clerk will take the roll. Members, please vote. The clerk will close the roll. There being 111 ayes and 19 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Motions and resolutions. There are copies of the non-controversial motions at the House desk and online. Without objection, we will take action on these motions first. Hearing no objection, the motions prevail. Announcements. Any announcements? Representative Long.
Madam Speaker, I move that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 11:30 a.m. Tuesday, January 17th, 2023.
Representative Long moves that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 11:30 a.m. Tuesday, January 17th, 2023. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. Representative Long.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
Representative Long moves that the House do now adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The House stands adjourned until 11:30 a.m. Tuesday, January 17th, 2023.